Welcome to the YCNU podcast. Join us each week for engaging conversations with campus leaders, students, faculty, staff, alumni, and community members. From academics to athletics, campus life, and beyond, we cover it all. Have someone you want to hear from? Let us know. Let's explore the world of Yavapai College together.
Deanna Baker, welcome to the show. Can you please give us an introduction and tell us about your role here at Yavapai College?
So my name is Deanna Baker. I actually am the project manager for academic program development, but I'm also an adjunct faculty here on the campus, which helped lead me into my role as the Future Business Leaders of America, or FBLA as we call it, advisor for this past year.
Very exciting. Which, by the way, that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the YC's Future Business Leaders students and their recent success at the Future Business Leaders of America National Conference, which from now on we're going to refer as FBLA, right?
Perfect.
Just because, it's
a lot easier.
It's an acronym that we can totally use, and it keeps it simple. So let's start with just tell us about this group for listeners who, like me, may not be familiar with them in this organization. Can you explain what the Future Business Leaders Group is and what role it plays here at Yavapai College?
So it's a student organization. It's very popular in the high school level, and students become involved when they take business classes in high school. And mostly they go on, and the whole part they love is the competitions.
Right.
But they form a group, of like-minded students, and they're learning about different things, and they're participating in the community, doing service projects and fundraising opportunities. And so the collegiate level exists as the same type of thing as the high school. It's just somewhere for them to go on. And what we try to do is help build business skills for them. I try to share with all the students that you don't necessarily have to be enrolled in a business program, because if they're going to have a job someday, they are technically working for a business. If they're an entrepreneur and going to start something, they're going to start their own business.
Right.
So it's an all-encompassing area. The competitions really focus on business, different aspects of business, say like job interview and like resume writing and just basic knowledge of different business concepts. And then we also include now there's computer sciences has been involved in it, and they do a lot with cybersecurity, bringing those students in, and even media students. So it's well-rounded in the competitions of what students can participate in.
Got it. Take just a step back there. Like, who is behind this group? Is this like part of the school district? Is this part of a state initiative? Like, who is
actually there's a national FBLA organization. So it comes down at the national level and then comes down into the state, to where the state has its own advisory kind of committee. And those ones then break it down into the individual high schools. And now they're trying to get it into the middle schools, and they're also getting it into the college level. So it ranks all the way up back to the national level.
The national level. And then the national level is linked up to like a federal business bureau of any kind, or?
It's its own separate organization.
Is it really?
Yes.
Very cool. Excellent. Well, let's talk about the students here. Who are the students that make up this chapter? What kinds of backgrounds, interests, and aspirations they have and bring to the team?
So this year I had 14 paid members. Other people participated, and you have to be a paid member if you're going to compete at the competitions. Otherwise, you can just be part of FBLA if you just want to do the community service projects or do the fundraising or come to our meetings and learn what's going on. The students I've had this year, some of them were actually some of our dual enrollment high school students. I had people that were enrolled in the bachelor's degree program. I had a couple of political science, graphic design. So a very wide range of students, all different types of economic backgrounds as well. So, we supported the students. So my goal was to make sure everybody that wanted to be involved could be included. So the fundraising opportunities that we did would actually help pay for their fall and winter conferences, so that they can make sure they could attend. We had Ruff's Closet we put into use, because they have business attire. So the students would go down there, and FBLA does have a dress code for their conferences.
Oh, yes.
And so they would go down there, and the guys would be shopping for their ties and their suit jackets, girls for their dresses or their suit pants and different things that
Feels
way.
like an internship.
So exactly. Yeah. So they do. And I mean, the competitions that they went into, we had Luke Smith, who's one of the students, he did job interview, and he actually has a background in being a pilot and is working on getting his teaching certification, I believe, for his pilot license.
Right.
And that's his goal, but he's also working on a bachelor's degree. So kind of this cross field, but for a job interview, they go, create a job you want to apply for, and then this is what you do. And he competed at all levels and won first place at our fall conference, our winter conference, our state conference, and then was one of the top 12 in the nation this year.
So why students would sign up for something like this? What they're looking for when they join a group like this?
So one of the things that they come out of it is learning how to prepare for a future job. That's a big part of it. We set up a LinkedIn workshop so they could learn to network, out in the broad range of things, advertise themselves of who they're going to be, what type of work are they looking for.
Right.
We teach them how to do their resumes. They meet with industry experts in all of a range of fields. So they get to talk to people and find out is this really the path I want to take in the future? They also are people that are our students that want to come back and donate to the community. What can I give to help out? So we helped with the St. Mary's Food Bank,
right.
And just volunteered our time there to help out for different causes. We have this plan for this upcoming year. The Red Cross of Arizona has reached out to us, and they want to work with us. So we're going to try to get them more into the Prescott area and see what we're going to do. So we're going to meet with them next month and find out what different opportunities that we can bring.
Yeah, these sound like legit experiences. Yeah. So it's offered to students, let's say, just for the sake of example here, at the high school level, right? It's offered to them as like a club almost, or like an elective?
It's considered an organization even at the high school level. So the students enroll in business classes, which is part of the career and technical education kind of cohort. And then the FBLA is their, quote, club organization that they do after school.
Right.
So, some play sports, some have club activities. This is one of those type of opportunities.
It's so funny. I think my son have signed up for that. He just graduated high school now. So I got to actually go back and revisit one of the many clubs or extra activities that he signed up for. I believe he was into it because I remember him. It was early in his high school days there, but he ended up going to Phoenix and had a whole business set up in there. And then I think he was actually marketing director at a bank. So they had all these, different stations set up, and then the business were all coached. They had professionals kind of coaching all these kids, and they had a whole program to go through and spent like a whole day doing that.
Yeah, there's different things. Does that sound like that's different things. There's a couple different ways that could be, maybe not FBLA necessarily, but that is kind of what they do. Like when they go down to their competitions in Phoenix and stuff, we have workshops that are set up to help them and encourage them and learn different things, of teamwork and, different ways of leading businesses.
Right.
And so it's all encompassing.
That is so cool.
Yeah. High school is very, as I said, there's a lot more high school students than there are college students. So they have a very big presence. And so the goal is to hopefully get the collegiate level to that.
Absolutely. And I love how they do a transition plan there, right? So they may start this in high school, but then they have the groups already kind of set up, and the transition is easier for them to kind of continue to do that as they start college and future.
Correct. So I went down last week to Phoenix and met with the Arizona Board of Directors for FBLA, and I got to meet the state leadership team, which are the students at the high schools that are helping to oversee and plan everything for the year at the high school level. So I met a lot of those gung-ho students who want to keep going and continue. And so my plan is, okay, where can I do to help make sure that they can continue on, and that even no matter what college they're at, they have a way to still be involved in FBLA.
Oh, it's incredible. What a leg up in terms of career development and, professional development.
It is, and it looks good on their resume. It's something that they can add that they've been part of, and the skills that they've learned throughout their years of doing this. I mean, these are big leadership skills that they're learning, and it looks good for when they're going out and looking for a job in the future.
Super cool. Well, let's talk about the awards this team that you lead brought home just recently here, right? We're talking about a national recognition here. Can you tell me about Yavapai College's FBLA chapter recently receiving this national recognition as Distinguished Chapter in Arizona's Outstanding Chapter of the Year? Man, that sounds like super exciting and fun. Tell me what happened there.
It was definitely a lot of fun. So FBLA at the beginning of every year creates a chart, and it's based on points, and the activities on the chart could be fundraising, it could be networking, it could be professional development, community service. And based on the activities that we do throughout the year, right, we get a certain number of points. And so you have to get to a minimum of at least 1,500 points to be able to become a distinguished chapter at the FBLA national level. Mm-hmm. And our students this year got up to 2,400 points.
Wow.
So they are excited about it. We were only one of 11 colleges in the nation to receive this award. And then there's an outstanding chapter award if you get up to 3,500 points, and only 5 colleges in the nation made it to that level. So my new president and vice president and all the students that are still going to be continuing on this next year are going, we're getting that outstanding chapter. We're going to walk across the stage to get our banner next year.
Yes, I love that.
So that was that. And then just being that many points is also what got us the Arizona recognition as the outstanding chapter.
How many students do we have in this chapter?
So there's 14 paid members, and I actively had 8 that were participating in all of the different conferences and events.
Okay. You said paid?
So paid members,
what does it mean?
Because they're paid, we're an organization, there are dues.
Okay.
And so it's $10 to your local chapter, $10 that goes to the state, and $10 to go to the nationals. And that just helps to support the program and help to be able to put on these conferences.
And the students pay that membership then?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So let's talk about this team here. What do you think sets the team apart from the rest of the country? What makes this team of 14 brains so special? I love that.
So it came like when we had our first couple of meetings, these students came in, I was sitting there, I was advertising, I was recruiting them down at, Club Rush and coming up and talking to me and just saying, come to this, find out what it's like to be involved in something at the college. And that's what a lot of them were just looking for. They wanted to participate in something, A lot of them do take online classes, so they're not really involved, but they want to get that college experience.
Oh, that's perfect.
And so they came into this meeting, and I wouldn't say we necessarily always followed Robert's rules when we came in, because we would end up sitting down and being like a family and just having normal conversations, but letting them share their ideas of what they want to do. And when one person would share an idea, sometimes other people would be all, no, we don't like that. But I mean, it was like, it became a sibling type thing, but there was a bond there that they formed. And because of that, they wanted to work together. And so when it came to those competitions, they said, here, let me do this or let me do that. And hey, I will help you with this and I'll help you with this. And hey, how about we do this together? And it was just from that being together, and doing things together throughout the year.
So you feel like that bond is really what separated them?
I do, and we have this group chat, and it's kind of funny. It doesn't matter what students are doing. They'll if it's something personal, they'll share it in our group chat, just to kind of let everybody know, hey, I'm doing this right now, or I'm going here right now.
That's incredible.
And so they keep in touch, and even when I'm not, quote, in the group chat and they're on their own, they're still doing things together.
That sounds like a family. Well, speaking of a family, this family-like bond, it's very common in successful teams in business and everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a really important thing in business. So I'm glad that they're experiencing that, because that is probably the most important thing, because every other business skill, you can acquire that anywhere else, but you don't get to really implement those skills unless you have this team with that bond and all that, right? Can you share in a specific example of how the team contributed to their success, some ideas that maybe came up, just to kind of color our conversation here? Just what does the ideas look like? What were they talking about?
So different things that came up throughout the year as far as fundraising opportunities. We didn't necessarily get to put them all on, but they wanted to do a pie in the face.
Ooh.
And they actually went around to different faculty and even administration and asked, if students donate a certain amount of money,
Would
can
you
they
get a pie
throw
in
a
the
pie
face?
in the face for them? So when we were looking at having it, it was during all the snow and everything that way because we needed to set it up outside. So that one kind of got put on the back burner, but they're still sitting there going, I want to do this next year. We have people that have volunteered. We have deans that have said yes,
I love
Can
it.
we do that? That's one of them. The college as a whole had thought about putting on a dance, but there was never enough time to plan it. So FBLA is trying to say, oh, is there a way to put on this dance that they were talking about? Maybe a Halloween type theme or something like that, So those are just kind of a couple of their ideas, but they also want to bring in a panel of different industry experts that they know of, like we have somebody, as I said, airlines, and I have one of my high school students was also FFA, so she knows agriculture, and she'd like to bring somebody in just to kind of talk about the area and different things in
Right.
that. We have faculty in our School of Business, that have their own businesses and stuff. So just giving a broad range, and they want to bring them in so students can come to this and talk and learn and kind of do a networking session so they get their questions answered, or they can find out about, if I don't know what I want to do later on in life, here's an opportunity to talk to different people.
Right. Are they also presented with like business challenges or situations that they need to figure out how to solve that problem? Is this also the type of activity that they get to?
That's actually at the competition level that they have. We have stuff called case competitions, and they are given a scenario, and they can do it one-on-one if they want to just do that themselves, or they can form a team up to 4 people and do this. But they're given a scenario, and they have to work through it, and then they present the challenge, their work through, and the end result to a panel of judges.
Fantastic.
So yeah, real life experience.
Real life experience. Real work life experience.
Yes, exactly.
Exceptional. You also mentioned that some of the students have faced like personal struggles and yet excelled at the national stage. How did their resilience and determination shape their journey and inspire others in the chapter? Just tell us a little bit of that side of the story
So
there.
personal challenges we have is just the different economic backgrounds that they came through or the life that they've had, and they didn't know if they would even be able to get to go to nationals, and so the struggle of just their personal life and then kind of doing this commitment saying, no, this is something that I want to do, and showing others that the determination is there and that if you want to do something, you can succeed at it and you can get to that level. So, they were there to support each other. If one of them struggled in something personally, the other teams would kind of wrap themselves around them and say, hey, we're going to get through this. One of our students, which he's also, I think you guys know all about him. He's been out there, Jackson James,
Yes. Yeah.
He's one of my FBLA students. And it was funny. He wanted to go compete at the nationals. He likes public speaking. He likes impromptu speaking. He has his internship this summer with Mark Kelly in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And so working out the logistics of how do we get Jackson to be able to compete when his competition is this day and tomorrow morning at like 8 a.m., he's supposed to be in Washington, D.C. And we managed, and he pulled off that 7th place finish in the nation, but he literally competed. And 2 hours later, we had him on a plane flying to Washington, D.C. so that he could do his internship this summer.
I love it. These are great stories. Again, if any students, and I hope that there are plenty of students listening to this podcast, of this episode right now, if they're thinking, maybe I'm not a good fit for this, or maybe I'm not, at the level that is required for me to join a group like this. What are the standards, and how does a student decide, get to apply for a group like that? Are there requirements for them to be part of this, or just that pure will of like, I want to do this is enough and they fit in the team? How does that work?
The only requirement is that you are a YC student.
There you go. Okay.
There is nothing else required. I encourage everybody, come to one of our meetings. Check us out, see what we're going to discuss, what our plans are, what's coming up, and then I'll tell them, come to this fundraising event or come to this and see if you enjoy doing that, and I don't think a lot of people went into this realizing this is where I'm going. I'm going to start competing. And, and then they get that thing of, ooh, I like competing. It's the competition thing that gets into their minds. And then they're like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to do this better. So all of the students start out on level playing ground. And as I said, they come from different backgrounds. there's different scenarios of what's going on. So you're involved in as much as you want or as little as you want.
Right.
So it just kind of depends. I leave it up to them to tell me, where do you want to go with this? And I encourage them. I have a lot of students that will just stop by my office and just kind of talk, and just kind of share their day with me and stuff. So it's just knowing that they have somebody there that they can just kind of stop in and say, hey, and I'll be, oh, hey, we're going to be doing this activity. This sounds like something that you would be interested in. How about you just come and check it out?
Right. And then everything else can be taught, right? Like we always say that you can teach skills, but you can't teach that ambition. You can't teach that personality and all that. That needs to be there in you. So I think that's the minimum requirement, right? Do you have that ambition? You want to be part of something exciting and fun and great like this? We'll teach you the skills to succeed.
And that's it. And we have a bunch of great faculty that are willing to help. If a student says, oh, I want to do this competition, I'm going to find a faculty member that, might excel in that area and pair that student up with them and say, hey, would you be willing to give them tips, pointers, help them, prepare them for their competition.
Right.
Coach them. So we have that's one of the things I love about Yavapai College is that our faculty are there for the students and to see the students succeed. So they're willing to step in, if I come to them and say, hey, would you work with this student, or could you offer the student this type of advice?
I love it. Perfect. Well, looking ahead, what are your goals for Yavapai College's FBLA chapter, and how do we plan to continue fostering leadership and business skills among our students? You shared briefly with me before the interview that we have some good news. Do you feel comfortable sharing that? Please go for it, because I thought that was really exciting.
We do have a lot coming up. Hopefully, that's very exciting. So the collegiate level has always been involved with the middle school and the high school. And we've always had like one board of directors that have led it all. But because the collegiate level is so much smaller, they kind of decided that maybe the collegiate level should be separate in its own entity. And so that more people can focus on just that and help to build the program more. So last week, we are looking at now being a separate entity from the high school and middle school. We're looking at creating, hopefully, if it goes through, Yavapai College as the charter host for the collegiate level, which will then require us to have a board of directors and meetings throughout the year, but to see and guide with a direction of where collegiate's going to go in Arizona.
And that's for the whole Arizona state.
Correct.
We're talking about all the collegiate for the Arizona state.
So right now, there's currently 5 active chapters that are going, that have students that come to the competitions and, are involved in doing things at FBLA. My goal is to build that. I have one of my students going up to NAU this year, and she came to me and goes, I want to still be in FBLA. And I said, well, if you can find an advisor at NAU, I'll help them, set up a chapter so we can get this going and get that going up there. But I also then found out we have what's called a direct chapter. And that's for any student that's in college that doesn't have an FBLA chapter on their campus.
Right.
And it's an online one only. But I found out that, I'm looking at talking to the national board and saying, can Yavapai College host and be the host college for these online students? And that way, if my student's at NAU and there's not a chapter, she can still participate.
Right.
And we hold all of our meetings on Zoom and in person anyways, so the students will be involved. And I'll look at, oh, you're down in this area. Here's an opportunity for you guys to do a fundraiser down here. Mm-hmm. So to get them that outstanding chapter and work their goals and get them to what they need in an online way. So it's kind of a forward-thinking way of what I'm looking at doing this next year.
Stepping up to the plate. That's what that is. I love it. This is so exciting. And then to know that, our Yavapai College students, this is the home for this organization for the whole state of Arizona. Mm-hmm. So phenomenal. I hope this all turns out to be a reality, because I love it. Yes, that's incredible. Where can our students and any other student kind of find more information about this group, this chapter, the organization itself, and in yourself?
So we have a webpage, yc.edu/FBLA. There's
that's simple right there.
It's just that simple.
yc.edu/FBLA.
Yep. And there is a link on that they can fill out an interest form that comes directly to me, and I will email them back and tell them answer whatever questions they have and invite them to one of our meetings.
Oh, that's terrific. I love it. Well, Deanna, I think we covered a lot of the bases. I learned a lot. I hope that everybody else did the same. Is there anything else that we left behind here? Any kind of final message, final thoughts?
Just if you're interested in FBLA, don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions. You know, we are a fun group. We enjoy doing a lot of things together. Promise that you will be happy that you got involved.
That's incredible. Well, congratulations to the recent awards, to
Thank
the group,
you.
to the team, to the chapter. You guys are awesome. I hope that I get to meet some of these students that are in your chapter and, kind of catch up with them. And I would love to learn a little bit more about their personal journeys through, the chapter and their future endeavors and all that.
Well, I would love to have them come back and sit down with you later on this year when we start getting and kind of share what we're doing in the college, in the community, and let them tell their story.
The follow-up episode coming up.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank
Deanna,
you.
thank you so very much again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the YCNU podcast. We hope you enjoyed our conversation today. Don't forget to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got someone in mind for our next chat? Reach out and let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you next week.